Welcome back, dear friends, to another exciting video of making a steampunk Tardis console. It's Tardis with capitals because it's an acronym, as several people have pointed out to me. So, what I've got first of all today is to try and work out how to assemble the mesh enclosure assembly that's going to turn around in the centre of the whole thing. And it's doing my noggin in, because I've got to make it and glue it together absolutely perfectly vertical, otherwise all hell will break out later. Let me show you. I've got those bits. They've got wooden dowels that are holding them together. These are 3D printed. I've got mesh that I've bent, needs to go round. I'll peel off the masking tape that I used to cut it with a Stanley knife. Another top tip, you heard it here first. And then I've got to assemble it all on this tube that's going to cover the central support, which is a piece of steel, small steel sort of handrail stuff that's going to provide all the structural support and surfaces for the bearings to roll up and down on, and a cableway and room for steel wires to link the top and bottom things that go up and down. It's very interesting, this project, because you've got things that go up and down around the outside and things that go round and round on the inside. So anyway, back to the point. I have got to get this absolutely vertical. Sounds simple, and I hope they cut the bottom off, but it's got to be accurate to within a millimetre or whatever. So I tried sitting it on the chuck in a saucepan, thinking, well, a saucepan is a mass-produced item, it's going to be the same height all the way around. But dear friends, they aren't. They can be up to half a millimetre out, or even a millimetre. So that's out, and it's one of those things that I hope is going to prove fairly simple in the long run, because as you've seen in the last video, if you've watched it, each of these rings takes 7.5 hours to 3D print. There's 4 of them, plus lots of other bits, plus these little bits with the black acrylic in. I will get back to you when I hope to have mounted this vertically somehow. Some other things have arrived in the post, dear friends, most exciting, but as you know, the mantra for this project is they're too small, it can't be that small. Having no engineering drawings to work with and sort of making it up as I go along with guidelines and guidance and drawings and things from Dan, it's stretching my grey matter to the breaking point, I can tell you. Anyway, balls. Now there are some of these, several of them, that go round and round this central piece on prongs. And I was thinking they're going to be at least double the size. These are 20mm diameter though. They're perfect for what we want. But they're so small. I'm very pleased with this. I've got it sorted. Steel wire up the middle with a screw tensioner at the top. A couple of bits of thick glued together MDF left over from making the base. So that's nice. And just wedged a couple of bits of paper over 2 corners just to get it absolutely vertical. So I'm pleased with that. So now I can go ahead and start gluing all these pieces together. This is making me very happy. It's going together like a treat. Isn't that lovely? So started at the bottom, just working up this bit. Got the mesh in, and that sits perfect. No glue necessary or anything. It sits perfect in the slots, top and bottom, bottom and top. And just having this, it clicks. It's so perfect. You get to the middle and it just clicks as the semicircles sort of fit properly against the tube. And I know it's vertical. It's absolutely perfect, square all round. That is a joy. And because it all needs to be silver, because at one stage I was suggesting to Dan, oh, it'd be nice if this was black so you can see more clearly inside. No, because then I started thinking about it last night and thought, hang on a minute, how on earth can I paint that black and all the rest of it silver? It would be 1,000,000 times easier, as was suggested by Dan, just to have the whole thing silver, and then once it's all painted, I can slot these black bits into it. Lovely. Oh, look. It's going together really well, really satisfying. Having those dowels and the rods, the holes and things, 3D printed holes, so helpful. I'm using squares and things to get everything vertical, but it's not taking much. Oh, look, dear friends, there's a picture. There's the real thing. Gah. I don't want to beat my own trumpet, but I have to say I am really pleased with that. And that's not glued on. That's just the friction, and it's holding it completely centred. Oh, that is lovely. That's going to look great. So, next thing is that's ready for painting now. So I need to find out what other parts need to fit on this central tube and make them up. Actually, I'll get a basket. Hang on. There's a basket. Look. It just pushes up and down. Oh, the tolerances. Oh, lovely. I can't remember off the top of my head where all these things are arranged, but I'm going to have a look. I think they've got little prongs with balls on to do next. Oh, and the top bearing, the big one that goes at the top. Oh, it's coming together. It's a nice sunny Sunday evening, so what I thought I'd do is to sit in here and put this together. Because I've got the two brass 2mm pins, I've got the 2mm lining up holes, so that should go together beautiful with a bit of luck. Another little top tip I've just worked out. This is 2mm brass rod, and I've drawn them out to 2mm, so obviously it won't push through because there's no leeway. So what I did was to put this in the power drill and get some abrasive paper and just take the edge off going round and round and round. It now fits in, but what I've realised is even better is it acts a bit like a file. So if you push it through backwards and forwards a few times, still incredibly tight, but it's actually freed it up a bit, I think. Oh. So we've got the prongs in, and then we put nice little super glue, but avoiding the prongs, it'll be quite strong enough without. And it's so precise that you have to lower it down together, parallel. Look at that. Oh, fantastic. And the super glue squidged out all round and just touching. Get out of it. It's there. Oh, that's good. Yes. There we are. So that's going to be nice and strong. And I can just carry on stacking them up. That'll teach me to get too carried away. I just realised that I'd glued the two with little rebates in together. What a pain. Another top tip for you. You can make a minor adjustment with a chisel and a hammer. If the glue hasn't set for that long, just a sharp couple of taps, and with acrylic this thick, it just comes apart. So I'd lightly sand off the remaining glue, and thankfully then I can carry on. What a fabulous day. Living the dream. How fantastic. Just sat down at the computer and printed out some drawings and things for stuff that I'm going to make today for the TARDIS. Let's have a look. Look, colour drawings. Right, so that's the central bit. A quick reminder, that's what we've got so far, sort of. And I've just noticed I need to make two of these up because there's one of those there and there. That'll be fun. And I've just realised, most excitingly, that they sit on top of the, well, there's, where is it? Well, it's the one of these that's finished. I haven't got a drawing of that. So we've got that. Then I can glue that to that. Then glue that basket on top of that, which is great because I was wondering how to fix all these together, and then there's just one fitting to hold that onto the central pipe, so that's good. There's the twiddly bits, the mesh thing. Going to look at the balls. As I mentioned yesterday or whenever, I'd ordered 20mm diameter there, and I've just noticed they're 30mm diameter on a different drawing, and I think all these look like they may be 30, so I've contacted Dan to clarify that. And I've got to add a flange, or a lip, or a lipped flange along the bottom of the baskets, because when I finished them, they've just had a single thing. So I need another one. And to save plastic, because this is nice and strong now, I'm going to cut it into two halves. Not three halves, but two halves, and glue them on, and then that'll save, because you imagine out of a sheet of acrylic, cutting huge circles is really wasteful, but you have to sometimes. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to make 6 or 5 or something of those, because they go around the copper. Oh, this is so exciting. I can't tell you. I think I might have to sit down in the darkened room. Right, first thing today then, if you remember yesterday, I'd glued these together and then had to smash them apart with a chisel and hammer. I'm going to sand them now so that they will become one with no visible or discernible signs of joins. Then I can glue them together, and Bob is your proverbial uncle. Let's get on with it. This illustrates the importance of sanding it, because despite them being laser cuts and having that pin to align everything, the difference as the laser cuts through the pieces of acrylic with the slight differences in the chemical structure of bits of the acrylic, they're never quite perfect. Pretty perfect, that's probably less than sort of 0.1, 0.2 of a millimetre out, but that's why it's so important to sand them. We've got a matching pair. There it is, all nice and sanded with the holes drilled and tapped for the copper fittings. Oh, now next job is to make up the next 6. I forgot, of course, I'm going to need 12. It's lovely, just sitting here watching a film and making stuff. My choice of film this very morrow, having given up with Amazon Prime, now they're actually adding adverts to my free whatever. Anyway, don't get me started. I've started buying more DVDs of favourite films that I want to watch over and over. The Autopsy of Jane Doe is very good. Another little top tip, or as I call them, tiplets. I've just glued that copper into that because I was using it as a guide and there's too much glue. Lathes are amazing things. They have so many uses if you misuse them. I found a socket that just fits inside there. So now I can put that like that, and then I can wheel this round, move the chuck against it, and look at that, it's pushed it out. How fantastic. There we are, freed up. It's after lunch. Let's add a ridge to there, like that. Yes, now I know I mentioned earlier I was going to use semicircles. They still waste tons of plastic. They will not fit together nicely at all. They just waste lots of space. So 3s it is. So I've sanded the tops with some wet and dry, and I'm going to sand the ends to make sure they're vertical, just ever so slightly to get rid of the draft angle. And I'm going to try and work out how I can get these fixed together. It's very difficult. I've got these bits that I cut out of the middle, but I left a little indent, so there's a millimetre gap all round, so that's no good. What I think I'm going to do is cover this glass with the brown packing tape that the glue won't stick to, then stick the middle bit down with double-sided tape, and then carefully position these and stick them down with double-sided tape, and then drip some super glue into the joins. I think that's going to be the way forward. What's he printing now, Jim? Well, let me show you. As you know, I need to make one of those, and I hoped I would have some acrylic tube that is the right diameter, so 92.4. You can always see when something's been designed in the virtual world. 92.4. I haven't got anything like that, either too big or too small, drainage pipes, nothing was right. So, because it's copper as well, and circular, it is the perfect candidate for 3D printing. So what I've done, I'm designing it basically. Look, I've created a tube, the right diameter, and made it 3mm thick. Subtracted another tube from it to make it 3mm thick. So I'm going to cut that out. Calm down, deep breaths. I am going to 3D print that. That's what I've started. Now what I'm got to do is, I've decided to make this by having three separate 3D printed ends and the sides, and then a laser cut disc where the two bits can meet up. That'll give it strength, rigidity, and allow me to colour these different colour. So what I'm doing at the moment is I've got a big disc. I've inserted a huge ball, sphere, and I'm just experimenting. I know how the diameter of the base, there's the blue bit is the base, so I'm just going to experiment, and then I'm going to stretch and squash it until I get it. What does this say? That says 7, that's not very high then, it's about 7mm high. I will get back to you when I have something more intelligent to show you, but it's so much fun working in a virtual world. No, I do hate waiting for things like this. Was it 5.5 hours, I think it said, which means in the real world that'll be about 6.5 or 7 hours. It's been going an hour and 35 and it's done 20%, whatever that means. So, I just can't wait to see it. So I thought during the meanwhile I would just assemble what I've got so far just to see what it looks like. And that does look very interesting. Lovely. That's most exciting. Just got to wait for these bits to print. There's loads of other stuff I can be getting on with because I've got to cut all the copper pipes that are going to go around this central part. I've got to get them done. There's also these bits that hold the copper pipes, 6 of them or 5 of them or something, and when I hear back from Dan about which size balls he wants, and get on with them. Lovely. Now it's time. I can't believe where the day goes. Time to take Ziggy out. Do you want to go for a walk, Ziggy? Dog walked, and now it's time to get on with painting them. I can paint those, and the thing is I don't want to paint the inside bit. These are going to be brass, and I want them to continue to be able to slip up and down over the middle bit without rubbing any brass paint off. And if I want to glue them, I don't want any brass paint there. So luckily I found 2 pieces of cardboard tube, the addition of some masking tape. That's nice. But these, because I want to glue the ends of the copper pipe into these, and again I don't want any paint. If you glue to paint, paint's very weak when it comes to gluing things, very good when it comes to painting things. I've just discovered how to put masking tape around the inside of a hole. Let me show you, it's so exciting. I feel the need. Right, this is probably going to go all wrong. I've got my focus spot, but I found, and I have done several so far, I found wrapping some masking tape around, sticky side out, around something convenient, leaving it a little bit loose, and then dropping it into the hole, and then getting a very handy 2mm piece of brass and starting it like that. Let me see if I can show you. Rubbing that end down, and then is it going to work? It is. And then because it's designed not to stick to itself very well, look at that. 1,000 use, well, possibly 10 uses, well, possibly 1 use around the home, but I'm really pleased with that. That's fantastic. It's painting time. I've arranged them all beautifully here. I've hoovered everything first. I've had the air filter going. I've got the fan on now at the back. I've shaken the paint for at least a minute. Do that every time. It's well worth it. It says so on the instructions. And I'm going to put 4 coats on. Light coats is so tempting, but never more than 4 light coats. Leave it to set and then do another 4. Let's get on with it. Would you Adam and Eve? I've just noticed that a load of bristles have come off the hoover thing. Hold on, I'll get a pair of tweezers to clean them off with. And the paint's run out, but that's okay. As always, this is metallic plasticoat brass. Lovely. I'll leave that to set now. Now to paint some silver. I've hoovered, as always, and I've put a disc, one of the cutouts on top and inside, because I need that to be unpainted to glue onto the next bit. And now to paint the mesh part. I've put masking tape over the ends of all of them. Let's get painting. Look! Oh, aren't they beautiful? Like spun gold. In fact, sort of spun PLA plus filament copper. But that's lovely, they're so shiny. So that's good. And then in the background, you may be able to hear the 3D printer that is now printing 2 of these top and bottom bits. I think it predicts 7.5 hours. I'm not going to hold my breath. I predict about 9 hours. I hope to get back to you later with that. And what I'm doing now, dear friends, is most enjoyable. I'm gluing, well, yes, I am gluing them in. I'm positioning the little black fins that go in those slots either side, and I am cleaning them because the silver, as you push them through, some of the silver paint can wipe off because I think it's quite dry out, I couldn't wait. So I'm using a cotton bud and some of my very favourite, it's not IPA, is it? It is IPA, isopropyl alcohol. That's right, I hate acronyms. To clean any excess paint off, and then I'm just putting a little dab of super glue on each end that gets soaked in to stick it in place, and it's really quite enjoyable. I thought it'd be clever and drop an image that Dan had sent me of the ring that holds the 6 copper tubes in place, in position around it. Drop it onto the CAD software and then shrink and expand it so it actually is the size that it says it is. And I thought, hold on a minute, the mesh thing in the middle is bigger than that. So I drew the mesh thing, that's the actual size of the mesh thing. I then drew another support for the 8 rods that go up and down, and that's the amount of room I've got left in the middle. I'm so pleased I checked. And I've looked at this beautiful visualization, and there is a gap, there's quite a large gap between the mesh assembly and the copper pipes. I mean, you've got this bit rotating that way, you've got these rotating that way, and you've got these going up and down. Yes, we do like a challenge. A few executive decisions later, and I'm very pleased. It does look very much like Dan's drawing. And then if I click the button, having done one segment, look. Isn't that wonderful? The wonders of CAD. I'm glad I started in the middle, because obviously I didn't even think about it in terms of that. But I can make things bigger, whereas if I was going the other way, I could end up with not enough room in the middle. Oh, and of course the main thing now is I can work out how long to start cutting all the copper pipes. Ooh, how thrilling, plumbing parts. Most of these are for the next lot of NEPNet Throbble kits, but I took the precaution of ordering plenty of these elbows, 15mm elbows, because I have learnt through experience, never assume that they're going to be the same dimensions. You don't know what you're going to get. Obviously they have to conform to British standards overall, but they do vary quite a lot within those parameters. I'm so pleased to remember that word. So I can now take that into consideration and finally calculate the length of copper. I think that pipe pushes into there 11mm. I marked it with a scalpel. That's good. Right, calculate pipes. This is a nice little job. Got masking tape out of them, nice and clear inside. Get brown tape on here, sit that on there, and there are all the 12 pieces of short copper, and I can glue them into there. How lovely, and use the flatness of the glass to make sure they're perpendicular. Actually, it's like I videoed this because they're not perpendicular at all. I cut them with the normal sort of cutting wheel thing, and I've always assumed that it would cut it absolutely perpendicular or whatever, but it doesn't. It's on the wonk. It's all over the place, really quite badly. I'll have to come up with plan B. A quick touch on the lathe, just a little bit, and that's now perfect. That's perpendicular. That's great. I'm so pleased I realised that. Well, that was most enjoyable. And now I think it's time for a walk. Is it time for a walk, Siggy? She doesn't quite believe it. Another great start to the day. I've just come into the extension first thing in the morning. What is that blue glow? Look. My dear 3D printer has spent the night printing the top and bottoms for the other one of those funny copper things. It's amazing. Throwing an all-nighter whilst I sleep and dream my dreams. Before I started doing all-nighters with this, I did actually unplug the thermistor, the temperature sensing thermistor, to make sure that it actually would recognise that, see it as a fault and switch everything off, which it did, because early models apparently didn't, and if the wires broke or something, it could lead to a rather unpleasant thermal runaway. So that's nice. Amazingly, talk about luck, look how little filaments left. That's amazing, because that could happily have just unwound, gone through and it would have carried on printing, completely oblivious to the fact that all of those hours of work were wasted because it had stopped doing anything. So having almost finished editing this video together last night, I thought I'd just finish doing a last finishing bit where I intend today to just finish putting everything together that we've achieved so far. Inevitably, I thought, oh well, I'll finish this video when I've got everything painted and assembled and all copper and everything. Everything takes longer than I always think it does, but it's such fun. So, we have those bits, we have these bits. We have those bits, there's the other two that I printed yesterday. We have those bits, so theoretically, first job today is to put together these. That's really exciting. So 2 pieces of, I think, probably 5mm thick acrylic, so we can join these bits to those bits, if you get me drift. So I've got the inside sanded down so it fits over the tube properly. Should have just left an extra millimetre gap, but you know. I've turned all the outsides down a little bit because there's a little bit of a lip where it's printed. Titchy little bit on there and just on the outsides of this on the lathe. So they're all ready to go, and I'm just cutting out the first of 4 discs to fit around that, into which I can glue the 2 parts. There's always a bit of give and take, there's always an error in effect. In fact, let's put it bluntly, I always get it wrong when I'm cutting laser parts to fit onto 3D printing parts, because the sort of difference in tolerances and things, I mean these are always about 2.2mm larger than the drawings say. That's okay, you can compensate for that. Oh, I'm wittering again. Stop the wittering and film the cutting. And there we have it. 5mm acrylic. So much for sanding it. This is ridiculous. It's still too tight. I'm just not happy with it. I need it to have a nice lot of clearance. So that's allowed me to turn down or in or out or something the inside. Can't quite reach the middle because I can't grip it. So I'm just going to use a scalpel to cut that bit out. Let's give this a go. Oh, that's better. That's much better. The rings are painted, and now I'm getting ready to glue this one on. I've found that 2 washers are 2.5mm and the ring is 5mm thick. So then it ends up like that, and then I can just run a bit of super glue around, which will stick that. When that's dry, I can then stick that in. It's lovely when you're gluing something that you know has to line up. I've put a ring of glue around there. I've double checked that I'm not repeating these. I've got one of each on each one. I'll lay that in there and then push it down. There's the drawing. Here's the real thing. Lovely. Oh, that's so satisfying when you turn a drawing into a real thing. Oh, lovely. I'm going to let the glue dry and then I can try and put it on to the tube. While it's drying though, I can get one of these and get a row of 6 of these and screw them on. Look, we have copper and brass and things. Oh, doesn't that look lovely? Oh, that's so exciting. One of those at the top, one of those at the bottom, get the middle all together, and then I can sort out getting the vertical copper pipes done. Oh, it's come to that time of each video where I've got to stop. I just keep wanting to go, thinking, oh, it'd make a really good ending to this video if we just got this done, but I've got to stop. So thanks very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing you next time. I'll put a link in the comments about Dan's fundraising information and things. Hope to see you next time. Let's fade out with a picture of progress so far.